Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CPA Lady Podcast. My name is Marjorie McPike, and I am your host. Here on the CPA Lady Podcast, we talk about accounting, tax planning and strategies, generational wealth, and how to just save money and be better in your finances with your business, and then also how to make it better for your family. So that's kind of where the generational wealth comes in. I do have a background in estates and trusts where I prepared a lot of returns for individuals that had estates and trusts. And so I saw the benefits of planning and setting up estate plans and passing on generational wealth. So that's one of the reasons why I started my podcast. So I have with me today Barbara, and I'm gonna let you pronounce your last name because I don't want to mess it up. Is it Schreihans?
Schreihans, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have Barbara Schreihans. She is your tax coach, and she's located in Florida. And I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit more about herself.
Yeah, I am Barbara Schreihans, CEO of Your Tax Coach. And I really just found a need in the market for tax planning and tax strategy. I've worked at the biggest accounting firm in the world. I've worked at regional firms and local firms, and realized no matter the size of the client, whether they were, Apple and Google or just a mom and pop shop, everyone needed savings in their taxes. And so that's really how we built our firm.
Awesome. So how long have you been in business?
We started January of 2020. So wow. Very interesting time to start a tax business and then to go into COVID.
Right. So did you find that going into it January 2020, I mean, of course, there were people that had things going on in 2019, but did you find that your planning clientele increased as you went through 2020?
Yeah, it actually did. I found, so really what we did as a firm is as soon as COVID hit and all of the PPP loans and EIDL loans and grants came out, we were like, hey, anyone that wants help with this stuff, we got you, we can support you. And so we had so many new clients come in, they would tell their friends and their friends would tell their friends, like, go to this lady, she can help you get, your PPP funds or SBA loans, that sort of thing. And so that really catapulted our business. Not really what we were expecting, right? We were like, we're going to do tax planning and tax preparation. But being able to help business owners like that really expanded our services. And then of course they went into tax prep and tax planning services afterwards.
Awesome. That's awesome, because there were so many people that were able to take advantage of those programs. And there weren't a lot of people. I know for myself, it was, there are a lot of intricate details and I haven't studied up on it. So I'm not even going to touch it. I'll leave it for someone who has, so it looks like you're able to service your clients well in that area.
Yeah, it was definitely very tricky. Man, we spent tens or hundreds of hours on trainings to get those loans, and it was such tedious work, but the clients were so grateful.
That's awesome. I like that. That's awesome. I'll have to keep note of that in case someone comes and asks me.
Yeah, so if they need help, right now, everyone's getting forgiveness, right? So if anyone needs help with forgiveness, send them over, we can help.
I will definitely do that. Yes, because I tell you, I just couldn't do it. I actually went out on my own. So you went in January, I went in December of 2020. So 2021 was my first tax season. And I was like, I just can't take on anything else. So, very cool. So what types of clients do you work with? I know you mentioned the mom and pop and then the big firms, everyone needing planning, but what's kind of like your sweet spot?
Yeah, so we only service small business owners. So they have to own a business in order to be a client of ours. And then of course, if they are a client, we'll do their personal return, but we're not just doing individual returns for a W-2 employee or anything like that, because really our niche is to save people money. And it's a lot harder to save people in taxes when they're just a W-2,
right?
Unless they're a really high earner, and then we can get into oil and gas investments or conservation easements or something like that, but those are pretty complicated. So yeah, we stick to the business owners, save them money in taxes, get all those legal loopholes. And
Okay. So being a tax coach, did you have to go for additional training?
yeah, so one of the firms that I had worked at previously, we were all certified tax coaches. And so I think there's only one program in the US that I know of that will certify you as a tax coach. So we went through that program, and then my employees right now are actually going through the same program as well.
But you do prep as well. So you do prepare the returns, but then you also do the coaching part of it also.
Yeah, so we kind of look at it holistically. So we'll do the tax planning, tax strategies for people, but then we require that we prep their returns, because when we started, some people were like, well, I have, a family CPA, I'd like to stay with them. But then we found we were just on the phone with other CPAs that didn't know how to actually prepare the strategies. So now, yeah, you're kind of required to have us prep your returns. So that way we know it's actually like executed correctly, you're getting the savings, that sort of thing.
Right. So you're getting what you're supposed to be getting.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what does it look like if someone wants to kind of get started? And we talked about, we kind of touched on tax strategy, so I want to get into that more. But what does it look like? So what do you expect if someone comes to work with you? Do you do their bookkeeping? Do you expect for them to have that already done? How does that work?
So that's really up to the client. Usually the people that come to us for strategy, they already have a bookkeeper and they're totally fine with keeping their bookkeeper. We can communicate with them and give them the journal entries that they need for the strategies. But a lot of times they eventually switch over to us for bookkeeping, just because it's kind of easier when it's all housed in one place. But yeah, the bookkeeping side of things, it's really up to them. They could do it. We even still have some clients that use spreadsheets, because they don't want to pay for a bookkeeper. Not super recommended, but if that's the route they want to go, that's totally fine too. Yeah,
that's fine. Okay, awesome. And then they meet with you guys, meet quarterly, annually. Kind of what's that timeline look like?
Yeah, so I'll kind of take you. So say an incoming client, and usually it sounds crazy, but usually our prospects come from Instagram. So they will DM us and they'll say, hey, I want some of that tax savings that they see on our stories. And so I say, okay, sure. Can you tell me a little bit more about your business? Tell me your entity type, what's your estimated income? I get their email address. My team gathers their information. So we like to see their 18, 19, 20 tax returns. We want to be added to their QuickBooks if that's what they use. And I create their tax plan for them before they even become a client, and send it to them and say, hey, I think this is what, I know this is what you will save in taxes if you become a client of ours. And so then they decide the fee versus the savings, if that's something they want to do, which they'll always save more than what our fees are. So it's kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
And then we will have our initial tax strategy call. We'll go through all the strategies we're going to implement for them. Our team implements it for them. And then we will meet 3 times a year. So we'll meet tax season in June and then November timeframe before the year ends, just to make sure we've wrapped everything up.
Okay. And they pay one fee for that, and that includes the tax prep?
No, so tax strategy is its own service, because we have clients that maybe they don't need strategy, they just want prep. So we keep the services separately. So yeah, they pay an upfront implementation fee for strategy, tax prep every year, and then a maintenance fee for strategy as well once they're past the 1-year mark.
Okay. So it's not, I guess a lot of people will think that you just kind of meet and you get a strategy and you do it and then that's it. But that's not how you work. You still maintain the relationship with them and make sure that they're maintaining the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, businesses change every year. So tax laws can change every year. So we like to meet for a few reasons. We want to see where the business is going, how their goals are going, if they're adding different revenue streams, how we can incorporate new strategies. If there's new tax laws, how can we take advantage of those? So it's just always changing. Yeah.
I agree. It is always changing. It's always changing. So let's talk about tax strategies. Say, for instance, you have someone that I find a lot of people are just single member LLCs. They hear that they need to form a business, and so they start an LLC, right? And then they don't know anything else. But then they start making a lot of money. We're talking 100, 200, I've seen some more than that, $1,000 that they're making. So like, what would be a strategy, or what type of strategies would you recommend for them?
It really depends on their whole situation. So I like to look at their family, what their goals are for retirement. And so, yeah, of course, one of the things we look at is entities. Should they be an S Corp or a C Corp? But even sometimes it might be more beneficial to stay in LLC, even though you can save taxes by being an S Corp. There's other benefits that you can take as an LLC that might be a better tax savings than S or C Corp. So we calculate all of those just depending on their goals, what type of deductions they want to take. We look at retirement plans because typically business owners, we're the last ones to take care of ourselves. And so we go over, tax deductible retirement plans. We'll go over legal loopholes with them. We'll go over really, it's a whole gamut of things. We have we call it our super secret vault of tax strategies. We have hundreds of them. So it really kind of depends too on their industry, what they're doing, all of that.
That's a lot. And I think people don't take that into consideration. Well, I know they don't take it into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I read something like 99% of tax preparers don't do tax strategy. So it's really a niche thing.
It is. And it's a good niche because a lot of, people don't want to pay more in taxes than they should. And a lot of times they just hear about the, hire your kids, or, my big thing is the G-Wagon. It's like, I'm always hearing about somebody in a G-Wagon, There's more to it than just the G-Wagon, right? Because that G-Wagon may or may not, you can get the tax deduction, but it may not affect your tax return in the current year, right? If you don't have the income to support it. So,
plus that's still money out. I tell people that because clients ask me all the time, oh, should I just buy a new car at the end of the year? And then sure, you can spend $100,000 on a new car. You'll save 40,000, but you're still out 60 grand, sure, you'll save in taxes. So did you really need the car? So I don't love that strategy, but I know, it is a perk, right? To be able to write off your car in your business, but it's not for me. I've seen tax preparers just be like, oh yeah, just get a new car every year. And I'm like, but you're still having to pay a lot of money.
Right. So you have to look at the cash flow part of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. So what would you recommend to someone? At what point should someone come and talk to a tax, strategist, tax coach?
Really, I've seen it, the cost benefit analysis work when they're profiting 40,000 or more. And so a lot of times when people see our stories on Instagram, they think, oh, you have to be this multi six-figure earner or a $1 million business owner. And that's not really the case. Like I mentioned, you could profit 40,000 and still make money off of our services. So it's worth it from the beginning too.
From the beginning, to talk to someone and develop that relationship.
Yeah, because as you become more profitable, you're going to become busier and busier, and taxes are going to become more and more on the back burner.
Right.
And then you'll be one of those clients we get where they've overpaid for 10, 15 years. And they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have found you earlier. And so you don't want to be one of those people.
I like how you put that, one of those people. Oh, wow. It's the years, overpaying. I find people that it's just because I don't know, it's different. It's just something that they're afraid of, but it's like you get a 1099, it's like you need to go and talk to somebody about your taxes. because your tax liability is going to be different than if you were, getting a W-2. So,
Yeah. They get surprised by that self-employment tax every time.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so true. So true. So I see that you have courses. Do you, and then I see that it says a wait list. So what type of courses are you going to be writing?
Yeah, we're coming out with probably our biggest course we'll ever come out with is going to come out in January. It's called Write Off Your Life. Trademark pending. So I hope that we get that soon. But it will really teach business owners how to take seemingly personal expenses and turn them into business expenses so that you can write off your life. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. And then what other things do you do besides the business? I know it keeps you busy.
Yeah, I mean, we as a family just really love to invest, and we kind of like dabble in everything just because our clients will always ask us like investment questions, even though we are not financial advisors, anything of that sort. But it's always like, okay, well, you've saved us in taxes. Now what do we do with the savings that we have? How do we set ourselves up? So, we're into real estate. We have a bunch of rentals. We'll flip properties. We're getting into Airbnb. We love the crypto game, just stock market, educating ourselves on the stock market. So I think a lot of our time is spent on just investing and learning. And like you mentioned at the beginning, we've been getting really into trusts lately, and so we're learning a lot about family trusts, and so yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. I've seen some pretty interesting trust returns. There's some sophisticated things you can do with estate planning if that's because you want to preserve your millions, right? You don't want to just give them to the government or not have them go the way you intended. So yeah,
exactly.
Pretty sophisticated things you can do. Yeah. So I'm excited about the tax coaching and the tax planning because that's a big thing that it's a big area that's kind of where the direction that I'm going. I'm trying to push everyone, especially now. We're in September, and some people don't even know how much money they've made for the year. So really trying to push them to get some information and to research some other things. You mentioned something about tax deductible retirement plans. So is that different than like a 401k?
So for most of at least our clients, most of them are single owner business owners. And so we'll typically set up a solo 401k. So, they can deduct up to $19,500 as an employee contribution, but then they can also deduct the rest up to $58,000 as an employer contribution. So they have a huge deduction on their business return. And then that's doubled if they're married, right? So the limit is $116,000. So you can get a ton of money out. And then if you are making a lot of money, you can do defined benefit plans, defined contribution plans, where you can literally put hundreds of thousands of dollars away. I've only seen it and done it a couple of times in practice, but captive insurance is another one, but you need like 500,000 minimum to put into a plan. But it's basically a business deduction. You're buying insurance on yourself, and it's a huge business deduction. So we do those as well, but you got to have a lot of cash.
A lot of cash, right? In order to make those things happen. And tax planning is proactive rather than reactive, because there's not a lot that you can do after the year ends, right?
We will implement some strategies retroactively because inevitably, in April, we'll get a client that's like, oh my gosh, my tax bill is so much. What can you do to help us? And so we can make some of the things retroactive, but yeah, it's always better before the year ends. And we can always amend, up to 3 years in the past. So like right now, this is our huge amendment season. So we're amending new clients' returns for 18, 19, and 20 for the strategies that we can retro. Some of them we can't, but they're still getting, I just had a client a week or two ago, they're getting over $200,000 back. So it's crazy.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I need to talk to you about some tax strategies for some clients. So, because I have one that we really need to work on something serious. So, yeah, that's very cool.
Happy to.
Okay. Well, I see the services, so tax preparation, tax planning. You're on Instagram. What's your handle on Instagram?
Your tax coach.
Your tax coach. So everything is your tax coach.
Everything. You can find us everywhere. Your tax coach. TikTok. We've been dabbling into TikTok. That's kind of fun. I think we've only put up like 10 TikTok videos and we've gotten probably like 10 clients off of TikTok.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Funny, but
that's awesome. Okay. Very cool. So, okay, so this is the other one. Your business intensive. Can you explain that service?
Yeah. So these this is for really like the new business owner, and I have 3 of them later this afternoon. So it's funny that you asked, but it's really for kind of like the newbie business owner. They just have a ton of questions, and so they get an hour on our calendar. We can go through all tax questions, you know, setting up an entity, if they have investment questions, retirement, business, money, mindset, like really anything. You get our time for 60 minutes. And then you have Voxer access to me for 30 days. So I'll probably give you homework in the business intensive, like, hey, you should probably get a business bank account if you don't have one yet, or get this business credit card or this entity or whatever, you know, if you don't know your numbers for the year, do your spreadsheet. So they'll walk away with homework. So that's why they have Voxer access to me as well. So that way, when they're doing their homework, if they have questions, they can ask me, or just as they're going through their deductions for the year, they can be like, hey, how do I deduct this? Or can I deduct that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay. And Voxer is like a messenger service?
Yeah, it's like a walkie-talkie. So you just like voice it over and I get it instantly. And it's so much easier to respond tax questions in a voice memo than trying to like type it out. It takes forever. So I love Voxer.
Okay. I've never heard of Voxer, so that's very cool.
Oh yeah. Most of our clients already have it. So probably a lot of more people than you think have heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. I just feel as though there's so much to share, and that we're only touching the surface. So, can you think of anything else that would be beneficial for our audience? I have to say that a lot of the people that listen are newbie business owners, first-time business owners in their family. Very good at making money. That's one of the reasons why I went into, why I decided to go out on my own, is because I saw a lot of younger entrepreneurs on Instagram that were just making a lot of money. And I'm like, you're going to have a big tax bill.
Yeah.
You know, you just posted you made $100,000 in options trades. You're going to have a lot of, you're going to owe some taxes on that. So, anything that you want to share with them that would help them as they go through their journey, any recommendations, just anything to share?
Yeah, I would say know your numbers is the biggest, like the single biggest thing that will help you in your business, because if you don't know your numbers, you can't even do tax planning around that. But it's also just good to know, like, yes, revenue is great, but what's your profit? Are you actually making money? You know, those coaches that post, you know, I had a 10K month, 20K month. I'm like, okay, but how much money did you actually make? Right. So know your numbers is huge. Go through all of your bank statements, get your income and expenses. So that's huge. I would say start tax planning way before you even think that you need it, because you don't want to be stuck in April and have a huge tax bill and be like, well, sorry, the year is over. You're kind of screwed on that one. Right. And really to just be like smart with your money as you make more. like for us, as we made more money, our lifestyle didn't really change that much. We just started investing more. So, make sure you have, and it's kind of profit first if you've read Profit First, but I would say like have separate bank accounts for when you get all that money coming in. Set aside some for retirement, set aside some for taxes, set aside some for payroll for when you eventually need employees. Set some aside to invest back into your business, because every time you invest in your business, you will get it back tenfold. So just be smart with your money.
Just be smart with your money.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And tax planning before you think you need it. I think that's so huge.
Yeah.
And find a professional.
Yeah. Your mama is not your tax preparer.
Yes. And just because someone's preparing your tax return doesn't mean that they have your best interests at heart, or they know the best strategies for you. So you want to know what's on there, and maybe have a second look, kind of talk about it and see what your tax preparer tells you,
Yeah.
You want to have a conversation. Ask questions. Yes. Ask questions. Very cool. Awesome. Awesome. I don't I don't want to let you go, but I don't want to monopolize your time. So there's just so much that we can go into, and I really appreciate you being on. We did kind of talk about the G-Wagon a little bit, make sure that you have the money to cover the bill. Don't just do something for tax planning that you don't have the cash to cover. Entity structure is important. Do you find a lot of people going into S corps?
Yeah, for the most part, I think S corps are a good decision, but I also think once you're at a certain income level, maybe you switch back to an LLC, because there's just so many other benefits that the IRS says, nope, you can't take because you're an S corp owner. Nope, you can't take because you're an S corp owner. So I do find that like my higher, I would say like 400K and above clients, that S corp is probably not the best.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to do some research on that one. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you again for being on the podcast. Feel free to reach out to Barbara, your tax coach, on Instagram. Do you have a YouTube channel as well?
I don't have YouTube yet. Maybe soon. I just hired our own content creator as an employee, so she is working on, I think we're going to have YouTube. We will see.
We'll see. Awesome. And TikTok. I'm going to go check out your TikTok videos.
Yeah, go to TikTok. I don't have very many yet, but there'll be more soon. Awesome.
And you can find her at yourtaxcoach.biz on the internet. So thank you so much, Barbara. Feel free to share this recording on Instagram, or I'm sorry, on Anchor, or wherever you're listening to it as a podcast, and also on my YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.